You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show podcast, powered by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Try a Tito's Handmade Margarita today.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is now recorded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is now recorded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Low Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9. All set? Let's go. The Zone.
Well, good morning. Welcome in all you crazy people, including those of you on Twitter. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for making us your SEC football. And, of course, there's no doubt who your sports and entertainment show of choice is. We'll let the others break down games. We are the Out of Bounds Show, powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, DancingRabbitGolf.com. Oh, speaking of, I got to get TJ his Dancing Rabbit Golf gift certificate. Well, I'm on the road today. That's going to have to be tomorrow. Streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and the Zone1059.com. We've got Mr. Las Vegas back. Mr. Las Vegas is back in the BankPlus Studio. Will is there with him. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Hope you're doing well. This is a little bit different week. And every now and then we will have this type of weekend coming up on us, or part of college football, where our two teams, the Rebs and the Dogs, they're going to win. And so you play in the most intense division in college football. You're two of the toughest teams in college football in America. I don't think that gets said enough. I don't think the SEC network says it enough. And I guess those guys are regional / national. I don't know, Blake. Are we national? I mean, we'll do well over 7 figures of podcast outside of the state of Mississippi. But whatever. Over the course of a calendar year. But I don't think that the SEC network says it, that Game Day says it, and that, the other studio shows say it enough, that two of the toughest programs, you don't want to mess with them. They got a street fight mentality. We have super tough players. It's really unbelievable. We didn't even know it for years, did we? Because nobody told us, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, these programs were unbelievably tough. That's when they had no money, right? I mean, you played under Billy Brewer. You didn't have any money. You didn't have all the cool stuff. You didn't have gear and training table for days and all that. You played under Rocky Felker / Emery Ballard or something. Steve Sloan. There wasn't any money. Will and Blake couldn't fathom it. These two dudes see all this, all the shiny stuff, brand new buses, Nike and Adidas gear for days, full-time 24/7 training table, multi-million-dollar strength and conditioning, weight rooms, and so on. And so this weekend you have Ole Miss playing Vanderbilt, and that's a night game. That's your steak and cold beer or whatever game. And then you have Mississippi State playing, and that game got moved, didn't it? I'm not losing my mind. That was a night game and got moved to 11 a.m. I don't know. I think it did, but maybe I need to fire off an email to somebody at MSU. I don't know who that would be. But anyway, Mississippi State plays at 11 a.m. and they play Tennessee State. So after going through two of the most intense and difficult schedules every single year in the country, you never have any, EOS, ease of schedule. You never get to do what Wisconsin does. And Herb Street and Desmond tell you how great a program that is, right? You never get to do what Oklahoma State does, right? And Herb Street and Desmond will tell you how great they are. And even on the East, I mean, I give Steve Spurrier Sr. all the credit in the world, but, you know, South Carolina went on a run, and that's cool. But doing that in the East is totally different than, like, the run that Mississippi State and Ole Miss made under Mullen and Freeze. So this week we kind of shift around, and we're already looking toward, you know, the Golden Egg. It could be an epic game. I know it'll be a physical game. I know the two teams will, you know, lay it all out on the field. I know it'll be nasty in a good way is what I mean. I mean, the refs and everybody else aren't going to let anything too crazy. There may be some chippiness, some in-state rivalry type stuff, but, you know, it will be a super, super physical, competitive will, all the juices flowing, battle rights for the state, all of that. You've got two amazing quarterbacks. One that's already punched his ticket and will be a multimillionaire. Probably by the first, second, third weekend in May after the draft, sometime in that spot. And then you've got Will Rodgers, who's just now. People are starting to realize what we said right after the Georgia game last year. I didn't need to see anything else. Like Dak against Auburn in 2013. Some of you faulted. It's okay. He's a running back. No, he was never a running back. He's a tight end. No, he was never going to be a tight end. He's a quarterback. That's why he's making, you know, he's made over $300 million in the NFL and he's going to make another $500 million. But Will Rodgers is a dude. Matt Corral's a dude. Their competitive fire, and Will is off the charts, isn't it? I mean, you got two really, really, really competitive dudes. And totally different stylistically, which is cool. And kind of have the same build. I guess Will's a little bit thicker. No. But anyway, they're both right over 6 feet tall. And rocking and rolling, accurate, and great football player. So that's exciting. I want to take that competitive fire into a story that I was listening to yesterday. So Charles Barkley was on this podcast, and I love Charles Barkley. I grew up in the 80s. I was a college basketball nerd. You know that. I was very fortunate to be able to travel a lot and go to all kinds of cool stuff. And I got to see Barkley play at Auburn. And when I saw Barkley play at Auburn, I thought, what is this? I've never seen anything like this. And Sonny Smith let him play. You know, that was back when, if you think coaches are restrictive now, try 1983. But Barkley was on a pod, and he was talking about Michael Jordan and his competitive fire and competitive will. And he said this was during the 92 Olympics. And Barkley and Jordan and Chuck Daly, a lot of y'all don't know who that is, but he was the coach for the Olympics. He had led the Pistons to 2 world championships in 89 and 90, I think, with Isaiah. And David Robinson, the Admiral who played for the Spurs, all went to play golf. And they played 18, and then Jordan said, I'm going to stay and play 18 more. They were playing Puerto Rico that night in kind of like an Olympic trial thing up in maybe Portland, Oregon. And Chuck Daly, the coach, said, no, come on, MJ. Come on back and get some rest. Get your legs under you. And if you know Jordan, you know the stories of Jordan. He's got some kind of – he's built different. And so he went on and said, no, I'm playing 18. Well, later that evening, he walked in right about time for the game because he's Michael Jordan. He can do what he wants. We treat everybody the same in our company. Okay. And so he walks in, and Chuck Daly's telling all the players who they're matched up with. And he's got Michael Jordan matched up with the 2 guard from Puerto Rico. And Jordan says, nah, I'm guarding the point guard. Chuck Daly says, well, why? Michael, he goes, he said something about me in the paper. I'm not kidding you. It's Puerto Rico. They're going to beat them by 70. And Charles Barkley went on to say he played that point guard from Puerto Rico like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Some people are wired and built different, and you got 2 of them one in Starkville, and one in Oxford, Mississippi. Good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. It's also brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. Back with the big board coming up next, and maybe a story from Blake.
You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show podcast powered by the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino at the Pearl River Resort. To get in on the action, visit Golden Moon Casino today.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. The big board this morning is brought to you by Independent Roofing Systems, the number one commercial roofing company in Mississippi. Doing it the right way since 1980. Big jobs, medium-sized jobs, Independent Roofing Systems, the number one commercial roofing company in Mississippi. Roofing.ms. Roofing.ms. Independent Roofing. Blake Mania is back from his bachelor party in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. You're listening Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. You can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-995. Yeah, different number today. When I'm on remote, we flip it back, 601-995-1059. And Twitter handle, @BoBounds. Twitter kind of crazy. Y'all are all crazy, but Twitter makes you nuts, especially sports Twitter. Sports or politics Twitter makes you loco. And hit us up on the Ag Up Equipment text line, Mississippi Ag. Ag Up Equipment text line is 601-885-3776. Brought to you by Ag Up Equipment and your next John Deere tractor. Or John Deere Gator. John Deere Lawnmower at Ag Up Equipment. Canton and Pearl, 2 locations, 16 total. 2 more coming, which will make 18. And they have Muddy Water Camo. Ag Up Equipment has Muddy Water Camo. I know the one in Canton does. You may want to call before on the other locations. But so you can just hit up agup.com, figure out the retail store nearest you. But they have Muddy Water Camo at Ag Up Equipment. Mississippi Ag in Canton and Pearl. Okay, so I laid out that Charles Barkley story. That was insane. I mean, the guy wanted to just crush a point guard from Puerto Rico. We always talk about how Jordan was just wired so differently, and he's won in I don't know how many million, but holy smokes, really? I mean, you're just going to that Puerto Rican point guard probably quit basketball after that game. If you're just now joining us, I was telling a story about Charles Barkley on a podcast that I was listening to on the way up to Starkville yesterday. And he shared this story about Michael Jordan, and they go and play 18 holes, Barkley and Jordan and 2 other guys. And one of them being Chuck Daly, the head coach of the Olympics, who had already won 2 championships with the Pistons. And they're thinking they're done, and Jordan's like, no, I'm going to play 18 more. And Chuck Daly's like, man, just come back to the hotel, get some rest, get your legs under you for tonight's game. Not that they were worried about losing to Puerto Rico, but, just want everybody to feel good and be right, all that stuff that we're hoping to feel pretty good every day, especially if you work out a little bit, drink a bunch of water and all that stuff. And Jordan's like, no, I'm going to play 18 more. So he plays 18 more, shows up right for the game. Chuck Daly tells him he's matched up with the shooting guard on the Puerto Rican Olympic team. And Jordan's like, nah, I want the point guard. And Chuck Daly's like, why? And he's like, well, because he said something about me. And, I mean, can you believe that? I mean, back then, Jordan didn't have an iPhone. It's 1992, summer of 92. I mean, it's one of the biggest summers in the history of basketball, but it's the summer of 92. They're trying to get to Barcelona. At this point, they're in what you call, I guess, the Olympic trials in Portland. and they also spent a little time in San Diego. And so then Barkley goes on to tell the story that Jordan played a pre-Olympic trial game, whatever, against Puerto Rico like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Isn't that amazing? It's just, anyway, I was kind of tying that in the first segment to how tough our teams are, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, because there's no year off. They never get a year off, right? Oklahoma State gets a year off. Wisconsin gets a year off. Clemson gets a year off. North Carolina or Miami, if they're any good and take advantage of it, they get a year off because of path of least resistance. Oregon gets a year off, and Pac-12's not good. Southern Cal gets a year off. No, even teams more in the Mississippi State, Ole Miss wheelhouse, Arizona State. I mean, they should be winning 9 games a year in the Pac-12. Good grief. Y'all been to Phoenix, Scottsdale area. I've been there. I've been on that campus. I mean, me, Blake, and Will could sign people left and right. You want to come here, hang out? Incredible campus. Several million people. All kinds of cool stuff going on. Beautiful women. I mean, anyway, there's no year off in Oxford or Starkville. And that's why it's 2 of the toughest teams in the country. I mean, just, and that's why I'm not surprised that Mississippi State beat North Carolina State this year, even though they were still trying, and they're still trying to find their way. I mean, they're going to be even better next year. They're still growing up in front of us. The Ole Miss offense is more of a finished product. Mississippi State's still growing up, and yet they're you saw the numbers. MSU football Twitter's pushing out all the crazy passing stats and so on. But and Ole Miss has had those kind of wins, I mean, they beat Texas in the regular season a few years ago and other teams. Well, I mean, they absolutely smoked Louisville. But there's just a toughness component there that I don't think A&M has wrapped their brain around. I don't think South Carolina's wrapped their brain around. I don't think Missouri has. And the 2 new dudes that are coming in, Oklahoma and Texas, I don't think they have any idea. And I don't know if you can go get it. Like, I don't know. I really don't. I think we've had to fight and claw for every single inch in football. Different deal in some of the other sports, although very, very competitive across the board. But I think the 2 football programs have had to fight and claw for every inch that you want in this division. You got to go all in. State just played back-to-back at Arkansas, at Auburn. That's not even as tough a run as the Dogs and Rebs have played before. You think Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, or South Carolina or North Carolina ever do anything like that? No, they don't. And so, when Herb Street and Desmond lie to you and the studio shows lie to you, that's okay. You're smarter now. We're all smarter. We have more information. And we realize just how good our program at 7-5 and 8-4 is better than, 99.9% of the 9-3 programs, and sometimes better than 10-2 programs outside the conferences. But it's not going to be sold that way by Bruce Feldman or Joey Galloway, who knows nothing, or, any number of guys. So, anyway, interesting deal there. All right, Blake, did you get arrested in Las Vegas?
No, that's why I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody...
Clean trip.
Did anybody get arrested?
No, we're
no. This is a better. Did anybody get married and have the marriage annulled within 12 hours?
No. It was an efficient. Okay. It was a Navy SEAL type trip. In and out. Okay. In and out, quick, efficient. Got the job done. Everybody said every man that came in came out together. So it's all good.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I like your first 2 segments take, because I think of that old phrase that we talk about in life so much. Good times make soft people, and hard times make hard people. That's State and Ole Miss football, right? That's why you see in bowl games and late in the season and in non-conference games, they're so much more prepared and ready for the battles that these other conference teams who excel in their conferences, they're not battle tested that way.
Right. There you go, battle tested. And our guys are battle tested every year. Not every other year. Okay? How many times has Oklahoma been battle tested the last 20 seasons? What about Texas? What about Wisconsin? What about OK State? They're not. College football media has lied to us. SEC Insider Hit coming up next, brought to you by Blue Cross.
Person in every community. Will you volunteer or donate now at unitedway.org?
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Live Oaks Golf Club and Roosevelt's at Live Oaks. Whether you're in the mood for a hot lunch or you want to go play a quick 18 with a cold beer, the only choice is Live Oaks Golf Club and Roosevelt at Live Oaks on Highway 49 North.
All right. Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. I want to thank you again for hitting up the podcast, whatever platform you like. Apple Podcasts, search the Out of Bounds Show. Spotify, Podbean, the Out of Bounds radio app. Wherever you need to go, we're there. Thanks for going back, listening to the show, hanging out with us. You're busy, right? You've got conference calls and meetings and surgeries, and you're a nurse practitioner, and you're doing this and that. You go back at lunch later in the day. Thank you so much for hitting up the podcast. Apple Podcast, search the Out of Bounds Show. Would love for you to subscribe. Also, there's a lot of movement on our YouTube channel. And Blake and I were looking at that, and I want to thank you, too, for going to YouTube, checking out our channel, Out of Bounds Sports, and also, hitting the subscribe button there. That's big for us, and we're trying to, I don't think we're trying. Our team is doing a really good job, whether it's audio or video. And we know how powerful both are. And whether you want to watch it, on Facebook, search the Out of Bounds Show, or YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us and on 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Y'all know we're an SEC football station. That's obvious. A lot of SEC baseball, some SEC basketball. And then some of the big stories, we always mix in Dak and the Saints and NFL quarterbacks and kind of monitor from there. But there's always good content, storytelling. We'll have a good storyteller coming up. Well, two of them today. Not a bad day. Mike Detillier will join us at 8:30. WWL Radio TV New Orleans, Mike D. And we'll talk LSU and Saints. Man, that was a heartbreaker, wasn't it? How surprised were y'all that Sean Payton decided to kick a field goal on the 1-yard line? I was like, I had to do a double take. I was like, hold on. Did Sean step out this week? And we got an interim coach like Mike Ditka?
Did he hire Ed Orgeron as an offensive analyst?
That's a Mike Ditka play, right?
What happened here?
Ditka's all about, hey, man, I want to punt, let's play D. But I'm thinking, I'm watching this game, I'm like, is Jim Haslett or Mike Ditka, did they take over for the Saints? What's happening here? You're on the 1-yard line and Sean Payton's not going for it? I thought that was kind of weird. But, again, Sean's a lot smarter than me when it comes to football and a brilliant, brilliant coach, one of the best on the planet, if not the best. And that was weird. But anyway, that was a weird game, by the way, too, the Saints game. But Mike D at 8:30, great storyteller, and Dave Bartu at 9:30 to get all into coaching effect and all that. Man, we've got so many openings. Blake was talking about it earlier this morning. And you look at what we're about to go through and all the money that programs are spending as far as buying out coaches. And you've got 12 FBS, G5 and P5 openings. 3 have been filled. And I don't know if you really are impressed with those hires, but you don't care anything really about those programs. I'm not going to go over that right now. But, you've got a lot of money coming out. And again, the college athletics business model it doesn't make sense like private companies. I do understand that we don't monitor all the CEOs that get fired and go to the house with massive severance packages. But, this model doesn't make sense to flip a building like LSU's doing, and it'll cost them $30 million, right? Because you got to shuffle everybody out the door and pay a lot of people, and then you got to fill all those spots. So it's, the numbers don't work. So ADs are running around like, chickens with their head cut off, and it's insane. When sometimes you got to hold. You could ask the question about Texas. And the SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official health care provider of the Out of Bounds show. Look, Sark's a good coach. Steve Sarkisian's a good coach, but, Texas just got beat by Kansas. Kansas is Vanderbilt. That's who they are. Actually, I don't know if they recruit as well as Vanderbilt. I don't think they do. But Texas just got beat, and Texas is like that number 8 recruiter in the country. That's unreal. I mean, every now and then Mississippi State and Ole Miss will drop one to Vanderbilt. Obviously, Ole Miss went through a tough patch with Vandy. I guess some of those losses were James Franklin. Maybe 2 of those losses were when Franklin was running Vandy. But you understand my point. When our teams are even halfway functional, that ain't happening. And Texas lost to Kansas. Texas football. I've got listeners right now who have never watched Kansas football for one snap, and I don't blame you. So think about that. And then we talk about how tough our programs are. I'm not sure Oklahoma and Texas are ever going to get it, guys. Seriously. I don't think A&M has. I know they haven't. I mean, they just lost this weekend. Ole Miss just literally took them to the woodshed physically.
What's going to
257 yards on the ground?
What's going to happen when Oklahoma, coming off a loss to a Baylor team that is, a 40s recruiter, under a random maybe 50s recruiter, and Texas coming off a loss to a Kansas team that lost its head coach, to start and is obviously like an 80s recruiter. I mean, what's Texas going to do when they're playing their 3rd straight SEC West team in the middle of October? Or Oklahoma's playing Georgia, then Auburn, then State, and then Alabama, right? I mean, you're going to see Oklahoma and Texas struggle, I think, to start their tenures in the SEC.
Well, and that's my deal. Can you all of a sudden find that ultra 0.1% toughness component, physicality component that Mississippi State and Ole Miss have to have, or they'll get embarrassed? I mean, I'm not sure Arkansas's found it since entering the league. I mean, maybe. Houston Dale did a good job. They seem to be getting back on track. Maybe they have. I don't think A&M has. Why would I believe that Texas and Oklahoma, on the years where this is not going to happen to any of our teams, State or Ole Miss, once we break all this out, once we get 16 teams and everybody's in their pod or kind of like NFL division of 4. But what's going to happen to Oklahoma on the years where they play Bama, LSU, and then let's go a little bit more mid-tier, State or Ole Miss, 3 weeks in a row? How's that going to work?
Name me the last time that Oklahoma or Texas faced a stretch even remotely like that.
How about never?
I would argue, yeah, agreed. Never.
Never.
Back in the old Southwest Conference, I don't know. The Big 8, I don't know. Way back in the day.
When Texas pulls LSU, Georgia, and then maybe at Oxford or at Starkville as the 3rd piece of that puzzle, how's that going to work? They've never had to do it. We've been lied to coming out of World War II on all of what we think. Not, life politically. I mean, there wasn't going to be a Cold War. I'm not going to get into that. The point is with college football, we have been lied to by the Midwest and Northeast media. Now the national shows still, regurgitate this garbage every Saturday. Okay? And yet we know more, and we know that a 7-5, 8-4, much less Ole Miss going 10-2, 9-3 State and Ole Miss program is better than Wisconsin going 11-1. It's nonsense. Don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. It is by the way, it is the toughest division in college football by a million miles. It is. It's the toughest division in college football by a million miles. And then you go to the Big Ten. What? You go to the Big Ten East and the SEC East. Is that right?
Yeah, gotta be.
Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State are pretty big time recruiters, and Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee are all in the top 15. So that's a sizable gap between the SEC West and the SEC East and the Big Ten East, and then nobody else even compares. You know, as far as ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, they're all trending more toward G5 conferences. Well, which means their rosters are full of, you know, G5 players. And that you would think that Mississippi State and Ole Miss in recruiting still have a little more juice to move up. Now, Ole Miss has consistently stayed at number 20 for 20 years. Now, there's been some ebb and flow. You know, I mean, they've had like a number 5 class and they've had a number 35 class. And then Mississippi State was way off from Ole Miss. They were 36th recruiter the day that they walked into the composite, the day that they walked into the Gator Bowl in 2010 against Michigan, who at that point was the number 8 composite recruiter. Right? So you got number 36 talent against number 8 talent. Did that look like number 36 against number 8 that day? And then MSU won by 35, but y'all aren't going to want to hear this, but Dan moved MSU into that 27-28 range, right? And then now the question is, and I know there was some recruiting news that got both schools hot and bothered yesterday, but now the question, there's no reason why Mississippi State shouldn't be around 20, 21, 22. Oh, and something else that MSU is going to have to do, and Ole Miss will have to continue to do. You have to sign your max. Period. You have to. And one thing that's gotten MSU in trouble is how few players they've signed, and it's not because of Tutorgate. It's not. That was only Blake or Will. Will you look that up, please? I think it was only 2 Schollies that they ended up giving up. You know, they negotiated the whole thing behind closed doors on the side, which is the way you should do it. But I think they only gave up 2 or 4 Schollies. So it's not because of that. You've got to sign, even if it's 3 stars, 85, 86, 88 ranked players. Got to sign max. You have to. Too much attrition, ankles, shoulders, all that. Who's oversigned more than anybody else the last 4 years? Georgia. Who was it prior to that? Alabama. Who's also leapfrogged Alabama? A&M.
Whoa, are you saying the dynasty's over?
I am not saying that.
Saban's done?
Well, Roll Tide Ryan Fowler joined us for an hour while you had your little toes in the pool at the Venetian over the weekend.
Hey,
you know,
that place is nice.
Getting your mani-pedi. Yeah, no, I stayed there for 6 nights once.
Did you eat at that Major Domo restaurant? Because we did. It was amazing.
I did, and the other one in there, too. It's a wonderful place. We'll get into that in just a second. Hang on. So anyway, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds show. If you listen to one of their commercials, it's simple. Get up, get on your feet, 30-plus minutes a day. Walk, whatever it is, and it changes the game. All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to get off that for a second. I do believe that the 2 teams, you know, Ole Miss can probably move into the teens a little bit. State definitely needs to move up 5 or 6 spots. All right, so we'll and then we get into range-bound recruiting, but I'm not going to bog you down on that right now. That's way too crazy. Let's get into Blake, Scott, and his trip. So Blake decided to miss 2 days of work in the heart of our busiest season. It's like if you're a CPA. If you're a CPA for like Horn CPA, And you come in and you walk into your boss's office on March 25th, and you say, hey, I'm a senior partner, right? I have a great book of business, but I decided to take a vacation. That's what Blake pulled on the Out of Bounds show.
Yeah, I've only missed 1 day in 2 years, but
all right, so you go to Las Vegas. Let's start with this. Well, I'll do a little rapid fire with you before we drop this Jimbo Fisher audio, which is so good, it's ridiculous.
Hilarious.
I had no idea that Jimbo Fisher had this in him, and it really makes me excited. So we'll do 2 or 3 minutes of Vegas, and then we'll bounce in and out of the Vegas stuff throughout the morning because our listeners like to go to a sports book or a casino and have great food and blah, blah, blah. All right. What was the coolest sports book in Las Vegas, in your opinion?
Ooh, all right. The Venetian the MGM at Venetian was incredible. It was like walking into
no question.
It felt like a congressional building, like all this wood and leather, and like it's very big and theater styled, where you've got these 18 giant 50-foot screens basically in front of you. That place was awesome. We went to the sports book at the Link, which was pretty cool, just different. And then I liked how a lot of the casinos had these like mini, almost like airport kiosks, where it was like a mini betting station somewhere in the casino where somebody would be like manning this station, and you could go up and put bets down. That was kind of cool. It's very interesting to see the integration of sports gambling into the casinos. Because it's everywhere. So
technology and software has just taken it to another level. Look, man, I stayed. That was one of the trips that I've referenced, Blake, where I stayed in Vegas way too long. I spent 6 nights at the Venetian, almost lost my mind, and because that's way too long for me to be really anywhere. But definitely hearing ding 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 ding, I was like, ah. But that's a great spot. All right, did you go to Caesars?
Yes, we did go to Caesars. We did.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it is the quintessential classic Vegas look that you think of when you think Vegas, right? Like the kind of play on European architecture and kind of overly grandiose. It was really cool. We went to Old Vegas, which was as trashy and amazing as you want it to be. Old Vegas is what you think of when you think of Chevy Chase Vacation or Swingers or that classic Vegas movie.
Absolutely.
That's the Old Vegas, the downtown.
Very cheesy,
over the top shit. Like not as the new strip is very corporate cheesy. This is very classic Vegas cheesy. Like more of the brass and glass and old wood and street performers everywhere, and just it was very fun. So we went to the Four Queens over there, which was cool. Checked all that out, kind of messing around over there. So it was cool. We went to this place called Area 15, which is like a interactive nightclub place where they've got this art exhibit that you go into, and then it's like a oversized play on a supermarket, and then you go through this freezer door, and all of a sudden it opens up into this crazy nightclub behind this fake supermarket. It was wild. It was one of those things that you only see in Vegas or New Orleans, in just these wild places. So we did some cool stuff, saw some fun things like that, made some money on the blackjack table, which was nice. So it was a good time, man. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
Enjoyed
good.
the game.
All right, hey, real quick, best meal, and I got to get into some audio.
Definitely the Major Domo. We had a short rib that was the size of my thigh. Had
oh man, that's so
tomahawk
awesome.
Ribeye, tomahawk pork chop. Which this is crazy. The pork they served at Major Domo in Vegas, one of these nice restaurants, is the same heritage pork breed that our Breezy Oaks Ranch guys raise here in Mississippi.
I'd love to hear that.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, you go all the way
cool.
to Vegas to get top-notch food, and you find out you can get it right here at Breezy Oaks Ranch.
Well, there's no
That's
question.
pretty
We
awesome.
have it here. We have great food here, and they have it there too. That's great. All right, we'll continue to discuss Blake's Las Vegas trip throughout the morning. Want to welcome you in. Thanks for making us your SEC football show of choice in the great state of Mississippi. Blake, I want the long version. All right, so Jimbo Fisher has been asked repeatedly about, whether he would take, I guess, because reporters think he's just going to come out, and if he was actually going to go, say, yeah, I'm going. And even though they still got to play LSU Thanksgiving weekend, But they asked him again, and I thought this was one of the best answers in the history of coaches getting asked, are they considering a new job? This is Jimbo Fisher.
Some reports, are you at a point where you can guarantee that you're going to be staying at A&M for next season and beyond?
Here's a bet. I've told everybody I'm staying here, and I've told everybody I plan on being the coach at A&M. All right. And everybody thinks all coaches lie. I know y'all don't believe us, all right? That's why we don't trust y'all, okay? So we're even, okay? Whatever we say, nothing's off the record, okay? It's off the record. No, it ain't off the record. You didn't say that, all right? But I'm joking. But we're going to recruit maybe as good a class. Here's a bet. Because I said the other things. I plan on being, I love the AD, I love the president, I love the chancellor, I love living here, I love being at my ranch, I love the family loves it here, I love Kyle Field, I love the people, I love all that stuff, and that's obviously not good enough, and I get it. I'm not mad at you. I'm sorry, seriously. I read the reports and people come to me. I say, I don't want to hear. I'm not interested. We may recruit number one. We're going to recruit an unbelievable class this year. Okay? So I'm either the dumbest human being on God's earth, okay, who's going to recruit all these guys to A&M so I can go across over here and go play against them. Okay? If I did that, you ought to say, that's the dumbest human being. I don't want him to be my coach. Okay? Guys, we're going to recruit a heck of a class. We're going to have special things here. We're building special things. They're investing in the program. They're investing in everything we got. We're building a culture. We're not where we are. And that was a disappointing thing about Saturday for me, that we didn't take a step in some of the things I thought we really should have. And it wasn't because I want to. It's got to out. And I got to do a better job explaining to our players to get them to do it. But I want to be at A&M. I plan on being at A&M. I ain't going I don't want to be nowhere else. I love being right here. Is that clean enough?
That was amazing. Most of the time, I don't think you ever get that from a coach. And Jim, I didn't know Jimbo had that in him. And he kind of went folksy Texas on us, too. I mean, he even dropped it, how much he loves his ranch in, I guess, maybe outside a College Station, which that's cool. That's awesome. I'm sure it's, when you're making $8+ million a year, it's, Blake, wouldn't you think he's probably got a pretty nice ranch?
Yeah, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, not a ranch from 1933. This probably has a lodge on it to the tune of 12 or 13,000 square feet. All right, and he doesn't have to split it with anybody. I thought it was great. First of all, he walks you through why he's staying. They have the number 5 class in the country right now. He kind of let it slip that he obviously thinks that they have a shot at knocking down the number 1 class in the country. They're not far off, by the way.
That's because he knew they were signing today, as it just broke literally a minute and a half ago, that they just inked a top 5 running back out of Louisiana.
Oh, they just got a commitment.
Yeah. So he knew what was about to – he knew they were headed up another spot or two.
Okay, so they just took one out of LSU country, according to Blake, and so that will be added to the list. So if that's the case, then they'll probably, I'm looking here at the list, they'll probably jump Penn State at number 4 and maybe even Notre Dame at number 3. But the point is this. I think we all know that Jimbo is, he's not as good a play caller as Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin. What Leach and Kiffin are doing on the offensive side of the football is nothing short of remarkable. It's so much fun to see, and we're so lucky to have 2 coaches that can get an offense going the way that the game is played at this point. And Jimbo is light years behind, but they are going to have dudes. Holy smokes. But here's the deal. Ole Miss literally took their manhood Saturday night. I mean, if you compare the kind of physicality index and levels of the 2 teams, it wasn't close. And, Ole Miss set the tone, and their front 7 set the tone, and their linebackers really set the tone in the gaps early against the A&M offense. The show is powered by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official health care provider of the Out of Bounds show. Mike Detillier at 8:30. Welcome in. Good morning.